Hey everybody, welcome back to the homestead. My name is Kevin and this is my wife Sarah. Well, tonight we're bringing you kind of a rare thing. We're both going to be cooking in the kitchen at the same time. Well, maybe not at the same time. We're going to share the kitchen, let's put it that way. I'm going to be making the main dish for dinner tonight, which is an awesome Mexican lime rabbit. It's a recipe that we love, we make a lot. And it's actually in the rabbit cookbook that we put together last year. If you haven't checked that out, that's in our Etsy shop. It's also available on Amazon as a Kindle download. For only $5. Yeah, for only $5. Go ahead and check that out. But tonight we're going to go and we're going to show you how to make this recipe, even if you don't have the book. So it's an easy recipe, but it's another one of those that is so good, doesn't take long at all to make. And we're just going to jump right in and get started. And what are you going to make to go with it?
I'm going to make cilantro lime rice, as well as some homemade refried beans.
Alright, so we're going to get started, and let's start with the rabbit. Alright, so the first thing that we need to do for this recipe is to make a marinade. I already have a whole rabbit. This is a rabbit that we raised, cut up here on my plate. But we need to make the marinade so that this can go in the fridge for about a half hour before we cook it. It's a pretty simple marinade. You can actually use this recipe with chicken as well if you don't like rabbit or if you don't have access to rabbit. This recipe and all the recipes in our cookbook actually work really well with chicken as well. So let's start with the dry spices that we're going to use. We're going to use a teaspoon of chili powder and a teaspoon of paprika. We're also going to use a half teaspoon of cumin and 2 teaspoons of coriander. 1 teaspoon of salt. We use pink salt. And then a tablespoon of lime juice. Okay, now to that we're going to also add 2 teaspoons of honey. This is where the measuring stops. We're just going to guess. And then we're also going to add 4 tablespoons of olive oil. And again, we're just going to eyeball it. And I would prefer to put a little extra oil than under so that you have plenty to mix around. So we're just going to whisk this all together really well. And then this is going to be the marinade to go on top of our rabbit. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to use a baking pan. And we're just going to coat it with oil. Even though there's a lot of oil in the marinade, I still like to spray the bottom of the pan with oil. Alright, now we're going to arrange our pieces of rabbit in the baking pan. We're just going to try to get them in there as tightly as we can. And now we're going to just pour our marinade over the top and then just use our hands to make sure that everything gets coated. And if you can, just really roll the pieces around in the marinade. There we go. Everything is covered. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put this in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes total. After about 15 minutes, I'll take it back out. Kind of, make sure that they're all still coated real well, put it back in, and then in 30 minutes we'll bake it.
I'm going to start the rice. I'm going to be making cilantro lime rice. I'm going to start with 2 cups of brown rice. I'm using the rice cooker, which makes this so simple. I'm going to rinse the rice first. I'm just going to dump this in a strainer. 2 cups. And then I'm just going to rinse it in the faucet. We have wonderful well water here. Just going to put this right in my rice cooker bowl. I'm going to add 3.5 cups of water. And just about a teaspoon or so of a little bit of oil. Plug it in and let it cook. While the rice is cooking, I'm just going to get ahead of things a little bit. And I'm going to chop up the cilantro, and I also need to zest this lime. I don't need a whole lot of cilantro, but maybe 1 or 2 tablespoons. I'm just going to, just chop this up kind of roughly. And put it in this bowl just so it's ready. And then I'm also going to zest this lime. We need the zest of 1 whole lime. This will add some fantastic flavor to the rice. I love lime. Lime is like one of my favorite scents and one of my favorite flavors. I'm just going to gather this together and just put it right on top of the cilantro. So as soon as the rice is done, we can add that. We're going to add some lime juice and some salt. Mix it up and it'll be all ready. Super quick and simple.
All right, so the rabbit is done marinating. It was about a half hour, maybe just a little bit more. While the rabbit was in the refrigerator marinating, I peeled 8 cloves of garlic. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put that in with the rabbit, and we're just going to kind of put it randomly around the pieces of rabbit. We just want it to, be able to soak up some of that flavor while it's in the oven baking. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to chop up 2 jalapeno peppers. For these, I like to wear gloves. I have allergies, and let me tell you, if you forget and rub your eyes after chopping these, it's not a good idea. So what we're going to do is we're just going to cut these into rings. Now if you don't like it as spicy, you could cut these in half and take the seeds out. You could just use 1. You could use some type of pepper that's less spicy. We're actually going to be growing some peppers this year from Baker Creek that are called jalapenos, which are jalapenos that aren't spicy at all. I think they'll be kind of cool, especially for the kids. I'm not going to put all of these on today because I know the kids, that'll be just a little too spicy for them. So I'm going to just put a bunch of these in here, kind of like we did with the garlic, just randomly. But we're just not going to put all of them. We're going to put most of them though. Just like that. And then the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to use the rest of that lime that Sarah zested earlier for the rice. We're just going to cut that into 6 pieces. And then we're going to lay those 1 slice on top of each piece of rabbit. Alright, so now that that is all fixed, what we're going to do is we're going to cover this with some aluminum foil, and we're going to put it in the oven at 325 degrees for about 45 minutes, maybe a little longer, depends on the size of your rabbit. Now, there's a couple things that you need to remember whenever you're cooking rabbit. Rabbit is so lean, there's virtually no fat on rabbit. So you need to always have some type of sauce on it or marinade like we're doing today. And then you always need to cover it while you cook it. That will help hold in that moisture. And then you always want to cook it lower temperature than you would chicken. So like if a chicken recipe calls for 350, then go for 325. And then just cook it for a little bit longer. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to cover this up and get it in the oven. Alright, so I just took the rabbit out of the oven. Let's open it up and see how it looks. Look at that. That is perfect. So now we're going to let this rest here on the counter while Sarah finishes up the rice and the beans, and then it'll be time for dinner.
So I'm just about to blend up and mash these beans, but I wanted to share with you just really briefly kind of what my recipe is. I use lard to soften and fry some onions, and then I add in a bunch of seasonings which are really great, some garlic, cumin, chili powder, salt, that kind of thing. And I used the home canned beans that I just did a video about maybe a week or so ago. Make sure you check that out. But I want you to see how beautiful these look so far. I'm gonna blend these up with my immersion blender, and then depending on the consistency of them, I might be done or I might need to cook them down a little bit. If you're interested in knowing my specific recipe for these refried beans, make sure to comment below and maybe I can incorporate that into a video coming soon. So I'm gonna turn my heat off just in case I splatter, and I'm just going to use my immersion blender to just blend these guys up. Okay, that's pretty good. So I'm going to put these on a low heat on the stovetop until we are ready to serve dinner, just to thicken them up a little bit, but they look great. Okay, the rice from the rice cooker is all done. I'm just going to transfer it into this bowl so that I can mix in and fluff it up. Just going to fluff that up just a little bit. Okay, so in goes the lime zest and the cilantro. I'm just going to sprinkle it on top before we mix it in. Also, 1 teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt. And then I'm also going to add 1 to 2 tablespoons of lime juice. Now that's going to depend on your preference. It's going to depend on how dry the rice is. I'm going to start with 1, mix it in, and then if it's not enough, if I can't taste that enough, then I'll add 1 more tablespoon. So I'm just going to mix this in. This recipe may be similar to the cilantro lime rice from Chipotle. Now we don't have a Chipotle nearby at all. We actually have to go an hour and a half to find a Chipotle. I'm gonna taste it and see if I need more lime juice. I am. It's very good, but I want a little bit of that sour citrus flavor. This is going to be so good. Okay, let's go check on those beans. The beans look fantastic. They are ready. So let's go ahead and plate a beautiful dinner plate. We'll start with some of this gorgeous Mexican lime rabbit. We cannot forget a lime. Add some of this cilantro lime rice. And some of this awesome homemade refried beans. Wow! I can't wait to eat that. I'm so excited.
So you guys, this was an easy meal. The two of us working together got this done in no time. It's going to be an amazing meal for the family. Hey, we hope that you're enjoying our channel. If you're not a subscriber yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button before you leave. Don't forget to check out all the other videos that we've done in the past. If you know someone who would appreciate this, go ahead and share it on all of your social media. Don't forget to check us out on Instagram as well. And until next time, thanks so much for stopping by the homestead. Take care and God bless.
God bless.